I will do everything to defend this Europe.
We, as Greens, take the battle.
I would propose rather EU which is scaled back.
We have work to do.
Migration is an opportunity.
It's time we introduce minimum wage in every member state.
They are all running for the EU Commission President's job. Margarethe Vestager for the Liberals, Ska Keller for the Greens, Manfred Weber for the Conservatives, Frans Timmermans for the Social Democrats, Zharadil is Conservative Reformist candidate, and Nico is for the Left Party. They are the 6 leading European candidates. But hang on a minute. Who are they, and does anyone know anything about them?
Do you know any of them?
No.
No. And do you know him?
No.
Any idea?
No, honestly not.
Have you ever seen her?
No, I haven't seen her.
Dutchman Frans Timmermans speaks 7 languages. He wants more social justice. German Manfred Weber is calling for a secure Europe helped, for example, by European FBI. Denmark's Margarethe Vestager is standing for a self-confident EU and women's rights. Left-wing Nico from Belgium is a trade unionist and is fighting for social rights. The German Ska Keller is promoting a European climate-friendly future. The Czech Republic's Zharadil is in favor of the EU but wants more sovereignty for individual nation-states. They are all committed to the European Union, but what are the biggest challenges? What solutions do they need to offer for the future?
The fragmentation between member states, a lot of distrust which we have, which has increased over the past years between member states, also between national capital and Brussels.
Liberal Margarethe Vestager and Social Democrat Frans Timmermans are the only candidates who have already had some experience as a minister. Is that an advantage for the job?
Obviously, it is an asset. If you have had experience at national level, because in many cases, national political parties are not really supportive of their European Spitzenkandidaten. They're not pushing them. They're rather pushing their own national candidates, so you don't see visually that they exist.
But one man has definitely been in the spotlight on the European stage, Michel Barnier, who could be the joker in the pack. He's not officially a candidate, but he might just end up getting the job. As the well-regarded Brexit negotiator, he enjoys the respect and trust of many heads of state and government. And in the end, that could be way more important than a load of TV debates.
For more on this, I'm joined now by our correspondent Georg Mattes in Brussels. Georg, 6 formal candidates for EU's top job, but there could still be a surprise. How so?
Exactly. The European Parliament, of course, hopes that one of the lead candidates, one of their candidates who has been campaigning for the big political group in the European Parliament, will grab that top position in the European Commission. But it could also, as we've seen in the report, be someone who has been campaigning rather decently in behind the scenes, if you want to put it like that. That is the chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, because at the end of the day, it is up to the leaders, the heads of state and government, who are in the driving seat of the European Union. They are the ones who can pick a candidate that is proposed by the European Council president, and that candidate then has to be approved by the European Parliament. So it's a tricky process, and that is why it's not yet clear who will grab that job.
The EU and EU elections are incredibly complex by design, and voters have switched off in great numbers in the past elections. How big is interest in the election this time around?
Well, the European Parliament this time round, seeing that the participation rates have been dropping over the years and decades, has made a huge effort this time, sent out volunteers, made campaign videos, invested a lot of money so that people do understand what this election is about, why it is important that people go and vote directly. The European Parliament is the only part of the European Union where you have a direct chance to pick your candidate, where democracy is, if you want to put it that way, the most vivid. And so, of course, the hope is that turnout will be bigger this time, which is also important looking towards right-wing parties and their impact, because if the turnout is bigger, the impact of the far right in Europe will be marginalized.
Yeah, the nationalist and Eurosceptic movement is expected to draw a lot of support. Is it really going to reflect as such in the ballots?
Look, that's of course the big question, and we don't know yet. As all elections, it can be full of surprises. We've seen in the Netherlands that all of a sudden the Social Democrats came up first. Of course, if you look at opinion polls, in France, for instance, the Front National of Marine Le Pen, the far right, is in a narrow lead ahead of the French president, which would be quite a success if they would come out strongest party. Then in Italy, the League of Matteo Salvini, the Italian foreign minister, is the quickest growing party in Europe. So undoubtedly, the nationalists will make bigger gains in this election. The big question then after the election, and that is something we will have to look at on Monday, is how will they be able to form groups? At the moment, they're split amongst a number of groups in the European Parliament. If they will manage to form one big group, they could have, of course, a much stronger impact in politics in Europe.
A wide ideological spectrum represented on the ballot papers today and in the past couple of days. What issues have the parties focused on during their campaigns?
Well, for the far right, of course, migration was still a topic, although I've talked to a number of voters this morning in Belgium when I cast my ballot, and migration wasn't one of the big topics. People have realized that numbers have dropped dramatically, but a lot of young people in particular said they have turned up because the environment is important to them. And for instance, yesterday there was a big march on the environment where Greta Thunberg, the Swedish student campaigner for the environment against environmental damage, has asked people to go out and vote in this European election. And so I think we could see in this European election a shift, a big gain for green parties. That at least is what was my impression was this morning. And that's also the picture I get from a number of other states where opinion polls have said that the green parties could be a surprise winner of this election.
DW's Georg Mattis in Brussels. Thank you very much.